live stream I wanted to do something more structured, and I thought it would be really interesting to do the pros and cons of living in London, because you really enjoyed the last video I made about London. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. This is going to be a soft-spoken video, as per usual. You know the drill now. And if you're new, welcome. We've had a few more subscribers, more than usual actually, so hello, thank you for subscribing, it's really appreciated. Here I've got my trusty tube map photo album. So let's do a pro, shall we? And I've got my bullet points just by the side of you here, and I'm going to pick them at random, okay? So they're in no particular order, just like my mind. So, a pro I have for living in London is the fact that it's very multicultural. It is multicultural, and depending on what area of London you go to, you'll find pockets of communities there. So, for example, there's a large Jewish population in Golders Green. Where else? There is it a Spanish community, I think, in like Elephant and Castle? Could be wrong. And now my mind's gone blank. Anyway, there are loads of pockets of communities everywhere, and also, you know, just walking around, there are lots of diversity, and I personally love that. I feel that, you know, it helps you to understand the wider world, and to integrate with different peoples, different culture, different ways of thinking, and knowing that you can all live as one harmoniously. That is my first pro, and let me know if you've got any comments to add on these specific points, and I will have a dialogue with you. So, our Father Damien, yeah, I will come to that in a minute. Father Damien is saying, London is way too expensive to live. You lived there for 3 years and you just had to come back up north so you could purchase a house and get on the ladder. That is a con I have. And that's my first one in my bullet points here, so I'm going to jump to that. So, Damien's point segues nicely into a con of extremely expensive rent, and it's only getting more expensive. Okay, so London is renowned for being very spenny in the rent department, and it is ridiculous. They say, and I don't know who they are, but there's a saying where you're supposed to put 1/3 of your income to rent, 1/3 in your savings pot, and then 1/3 as maybe disposable income or something like that. Anyway, rent is a huge expense for many of us Londoners, and it is a problem. It is a problem. And when you're looking for properties to rent, for example, whole properties, if there's a group of you, and you go and see a property and it's a decent one, the decent ones that are relatively priced get snapped up, they go like that. So you have to view it immediately, like on the same day as the listing comes up on the website. You'll have queues of people waiting to view it. And then, which really annoys me, is that the house doesn't go for what it's advertised as. People will bid and outbid each other to rent that house, and I personally think that is renting. I don't think renters should be going through a bidding war. I think the advertised price should be the advertised price. Um, it's just crazy. So it is so competitive and so expensive. And obviously, some areas are more expensive than others. Some are more affordable. So the further out of the centre of London you go, obviously you're going to find cheaper dwellings there. But if you're a commuter and you do have to go in every day, you are paying like 200 quid a month, even more on train fare, because the trains are ridiculously expensive, and that's another point of mine. But yeah, and I just think it's depressing. And honestly, like, the deposits you have to put down when you're renting, as well, are really hard to save for. And some of the properties listed on some of the websites when you're looking for a place to rent are despicable. I don't know how landlords get away with it. So, for example, in Clapham is a very popular area. So it's like quite a large area. You've got Clapham High Street, and then you've got like the Battersea end of Clapham, and it's quite a sought after area. It is on the Northern Line, and there is a large station at the other end on the Battersea end called Clapham Junction. So houses and properties around that area, you're looking at £800 plus a room, but probably even more expensive for a room around that area, maybe 900, not including bills. And that's in a shared household. If you are looking to live as a single person, it's going to be more expensive. And obviously you're going to have to pay for all the bills on your own and the full amount of council tax. And yeah, so single person properties will go for like £1,000 onwards, and some of them are like little shoe boxes, and it's really depressing. And I really hope that in the future the government reforms the renting situation here in London, because it is a con. Well, it's on my cons list. Tiana says rent is on the rise here in America too. Lots of people are struggling. Yeah, it's just crazy. Des, hello Des. Des says it's called gazumping. Yeah, I've really recently just learned that word. Hello Kate, and thank you for being a member. Kate says, I love these wee London chats. You live in the Scottish countryside, so very different to somewhere like London. Oh yeah, the Scottish countryside is beautiful. Oh, speaking of Scotland, I've got my Alimak candle here, and this is made in the Summer Isles, so it's in the Highlands. It smells so good. At the very top of Scotland. So that's a genuine Scottish product. So yeah, representing Scotland. Okay, so the first point was a pro, and that is London is multicultural. And a con is that there is extremely expensive rent, and that makes and it just makes it difficult to find cheaper properties, because the cheaper properties are sought after, and then you end up going into a bidding war and paying more anyway. And the expensive areas are the more central you go. So if you were looking in like Pimlico, if you were looking in Vauxhall, expensive. Hampstead. I think Hackney is still reasonable. I'm not too sure though. And if you go further out, so if you go south, you've got like Streatham and Tooting, you can find some reasonable things there. Crystal Palace, but the transport links aren't great. There's no tube that goes there, it's all just the mainline trains. Where else is reasonable? Putney is quite expensive as well. Richmond, out of the question. Richmond is a sought after area, very expensive. Where else? Yeah, so Notting Hill, very expensive. Where are the cheap places? Yeah, I mean, if you're going to live anywhere around here, it's going to be really expensive, so it's depressing. So Father Damien says, you ever considered moving out of London to get on the ladder? You're not interested. I am interested in owning a property. I just can't save. I'm trying, but it's impossible. And London is my hometown, and I don't want to move anywhere else because like my life is in London. So I am trying, but it's going to take a very long time for me personally to get on the property ladder here, if ever, which is a very depressing thought. But yeah, that's to answer your question. Hey Dan, I hope this live stream can help you to relax. Okay, so Sounds for Sleep says, the thing I find maddest about London is that I have friends all over but rarely see some of them, as even though we're in the same city, we are still over an hour away on the tube. I know that's a point as well. And Sounds for Sleep says, I used to live in Pimlico, that was an expensive year, yeah, wow. Someone was splashing the cash living in Pimlico. Pimlico. If you're unsure of where Pimlico is, it is, it is on here. So it's just a tube stop away from Victoria. Okay, so it's kind of near the river, near Westminster, but you can get there from Victoria, and then it's also a walk away from, it goes off the map, it's a walk away from like Vauxhall as well. Hello Michelle, how are you? I hope you're looking after yourself. So let's go to the next pro. And these are in no particular order. I've got here amazing venues, okay, so London is full of amazing venues, and all kinds of venues. So you've got theatres, you have music venues. So for example, Fabric is a wonderful club. It was threatened a good few years ago, threatened with closure because I think they wanted to build houses or flats there. But it's still open, and it is a really lovely club for those who like, you know, all things dance music-y. And then there are like makeshift venues like Printworks. That's a really big venue that hosts large events for all kinds of music lovers. Recently I went to a disco night there, which was cool. And it's got one big main room, and it's really long. It's a long room, really high. It's like a factory. It was an old printing factory, I think, hence the name Printworks. So got a great atmosphere. Then you've got places like Magazine, and that's like near the O2. You've got the O2 Arena, you've got Studio 338, you've got Brixton Academy. So yeah, we could talk at length about how many venues there are, which is amazing. Hello, Corbtastic. How are you, my lovely? How does the lockdown work exactly? Can you explain what you mean, Corbtastic? Perhaps I can answer that question. So Des says, just as a point, the northwest of England, you can buy a 3-bedroom house nearly new for the same rental price with a mortgage. Yeah, so that's the thing. But I guess a pro of London is also you get the London living wage, or you get more money when you work in London as opposed to other areas of the country. So if you could get a job in London and work remotely and live up north, then you'll be paying less rent up north and getting a good London wage. So yeah, now that a lot of us can work remotely now because it's been tried and tested, hasn't it? So yeah. Des says, I find the people of London really friendly. Oh, do you? That's a good experience. I'm glad that you find us friendly, because on the flip side of that, lots of people think that Londoners are quite cold and rude and unhelpful, but I think that we're getting better. Oh, I like Sadiq Khan. But let's not get into politics now, shall we? Okay. So, we've spoken about unaffordable housing and extremely expensive rent, and I think we can all get on board with that, can't we? And now it's all about money, the cons. So now I'm going to say expensive transport. So you can literally get on a flight to Spain. You can travel to other cities by air, and it's cheaper to do so than get on a train from London and go and visit another city in the UK. How bonkers is that? How bonkers is that? But let's keep it within London. Train fare is extortionate. It goes up and up and up and up and up every year, and I don't know what it's like now, because obviously during the lockdown I haven't really travelled to work or commuted to work. I train, so I don't know what the price of a monthly travel card is now, but if I can remember to about, I'm going to say like 3 years ago, I lived quite outside on the outskirts of London, and I think I was paying £180 a month, I think. Don't quote me on that, because I'm very bad at remembering things, but I think it was around that figure, and it could be a bit more expensive, but anyway, it was extortionate. Hello Tracy. Oh, thank you Tracy, you recently discovered my channel and absolutely love my videos. That is honestly the thing that I love hearing the most, because I really do want you to enjoy these videos, so I'm so grateful that you're here, Tracy. Thank you. Did I watch the TV programme about trains last night? No, I didn't, but that sounds fun. Does anyone have that Francis dude on Instagram? He's the train guy and the train spotter who's become very famous. If you don't know him, or if you're tuning in from another country, he's an English train spotter who has become very famous for his funny videos and enthusiasm about trains on TikTok, I think, and Instagram. And he has like a really funny camera angle on his GoPro, and it makes his like eyes like really like large. And then when a train comes past, he gets so excited and he laughs, and it is a joy to watch, honestly. So if you don't know him, check him out. I think you can just Google Francis Trains and then it will probably come up because he's very famous now. Oh, Corptastic, that's lovely to hear. Only tune in if you are finding this video relaxing. Okay, that's all I want. You have permission to go if you don't enjoy the video, obviously. Albert, come to Seattle, Washington. I'll show you the first Starbucks ever. Oh, that's cool, isn't it? The first one ever. What's that like? Do they do anything differently, considering they're like the first store? Okay, right, let's move on. A pro of London is that there are lots of lovely food places. Now I can't compare this to any other city really, so you guys can tell me if your food is better and all of that. But there are lots of like pop-up food places. So we have, for example, like Pop Brixton. It's like really trendy and it's got loads of food places. If you go further into London, you've got Borough Market, which is renowned for having lovely, lovely, lovely food stalls. You've got, you can get your lunch there, or you can buy specialty cheeses or like hot sauce. You can buy fresh fish, meat, vegetables, fruit. And it's got some really yummy restaurants around Borough Market. And people queue outside this like Italian pasta restaurant every day to get a spot in there because their pasta is lovely. And then you've got like Mercato Metropolitano, and there's one in Mayfair, and there's one around Elephant and Castle, and that's like a big area where they've got lots of different food stores as well. So you can get like food from Argentina, you can get burgers, fish and chips, jerk chicken. I love jerk. I used to love jerk chicken when I ate meat, and I like their vegetarian options, but I love it. And you can get all sorts and sit there and you can drink as well. You can get cocktails, you can get mocktails, you can get beer, you can get whatever. So, and I mean, I'm really skipping past some amazing places. There are so many restaurants that I just can't name. So yeah, so that's a pro. London is full of restaurants, full of creativity, creative ideas. There's a lovely traditional pie and mash shop in Greenwich, and it's really cheap. And you can choose to get a single pie or double pie. You can choose to get double mash or a single mash, liquor or gravy, and they do loads of different pies. They do vegetarian ones, and it's actually really cheap. And it's, so if you ever visit Greenwich, there's like a little pie and mash shop on the corner just as you're walking towards Greenwich Park, and I think it's like got a green shop front, but it's like all traditional and all lovely. Oh, hello. I think I need to block someone 1 second. Hang on. Thank you for watching, Sarah. Oh, okay, hello. Someone's just going a bit crazy in the old chat. I'm just going to put this candle down in 1 second. Okay. Right, so we've covered the pros, which are multicultural, amazing venues. Now we've covered food. Adam asks what music is popular in London. Oh wow, well everything is popular in London. It depends what your style is because there are so many people here. But there's something for everyone. But I mean, yeah, what music do you associate London with? There's a band called London Grammar. I like, actually, the artist that reminds me of London is the most is Burial. Burial is like an electronic dance music artist that never plays live, kind of like Banksy. And I've mentioned Burial so many times on this channel, but Burial reminds me of like the darker moments in London, like, you know, the London that you don't see on postcards, the gritty, grimy London, the London I knew when I was growing up. And again, don't quote me on this, but I think Burial was from Croydon. And yeah, Croydon hasn't had the best of reputations. And yeah, so when I think of London, I immediately think of like the darker times I've had in London, and then Burial springs to mind. Do any of you know who Burial is? Do you know any of the music I'm talking about? It is quite ghostly, especially Burial's old stuff. But yeah, but I'm going down a dark route, and now I need to give you a happier band, don't I, or artist that reminds you of London. I'll have to think though. Oh, thanks, Acalia. Adam, yes, very valid points. You think of Amy Winehouse and Oasis, although Oasis isn't they're not from London, are they? But Amy Winehouse, yeah, for sure, for sure. Although her music doesn't remind me of London, her music is like, yeah, does that make sense? But each to their own. So Adam, that you think of Amy Winehouse and Oasis. Catherine, you haven't listened to a Burial song in a long time, but you know who that is. Oh yeah, sorry. It is quite depressing music. I think you've got to be in a very interesting mood to listen to Burial. Hello Simon, thanks for being a member. I hope you're looking after yourself. So, Catherine, we just mentioned Fabric because I went through music venues, and yeah, Fabric. Been to Fabric recently. Have you been recently? Have you been to Fabric? Let me know of your experience there. Okay, so let's switch to a con. And again, I'm telling you this is all related to money. Expensive alcohol. So when you go out and you go to a pub, the drinks are spenny, I'm not gonna lie, unless you go to a Weatherspoons. But yeah, what we're talking about £7, £8 for a medium glass of wine. I'm not a beer drinker, but I know pints are obviously more expensive in London than elsewhere, so maybe you can educate me on the prices. Cocktails, decent ones are going to cost you a tenner. What else? Vodka, you get like a vodka and Coke or a vodka and soda and lime. You'll probably pay like maybe £6 depending on where you are. Maybe even more. So yeah, when you go out and you go out drinking and you have a long night drinking, you are going to come back lighter in the old wallet. DC, you were in London for Winter Wonderland. How was that? Hello Tail D, welcome. I hope you're looking after yourself. so what's your go-to pub drink? Are they higher percent alcohol? I don't know. I don't know. What are we comparing the percentage to? Which country? And they are very stingy on their measurements, on a single measurement. So yeah, like you go to some European countries and they're just like pour like half a bottle of vodka in your drink, and you're like, sweet, and they're like, it's £1, and you're like, sweet. Whereas in London they're like, it's £6 and you get this much vodka. Enjoy. So yeah. Okay, so let's switch back to the pros, and I've got written here, different boroughs and areas equal different vibes, and that's very true. So if you go to, I've mentioned Greenwich, it's very lovely. You've got, lots of things to do there. You've got Greenwich Park, you've got the market, you've got food areas, you've got the pie and mash shop, you've got the planetarium, and there are deer in the park, and you can go and stand at the top of the hill in Greenwich and just look at the most incredible view of London. If you're going to Richmond, you may be going to walk along the river. It is very fancy in Richmond, so you'll feel very fancy when you're walking through Richmond High Street, and you may go to Richmond Park, which also is famous for its deer. And let's keep with the fancy theme, so you may also go to Hampstead. Hampstead Heath is quite famous, and you've got Highgate Cemetery there as well. And you may know Hampstead for being known for having lots of celebrities live around there, because the houses are incredible. So lots of celebrities have homes in Hampstead. So if you're walking along Hampstead Heath, you may bump into somebody famous, if that's your thing. And then Brixton and Hackney, very trendy. You've got lots of like bars, lots of clubs, cool shops, lots of food, lots of young people around Hackney, Dalston, Brixton, Haggerston, Homerton, Shoreditch. So they're like, the going out areas. Clapham is also quite fancy. You've got a lot of people from New Zealand who live around like Clapham Junction, I feel. And lots of people who work in like finance in the city, they all like congregate in Clapham. And you can also go out in Clapham. There are loads of bars, and it's quite sporty around there because you've got Clapham Common, which is huge. It's a huge flat park, and lots of sport takes place on there. So that's a cool area. And then obviously you've got like central London, and you've got different vibes there. So you've got the canals, which are really cool. So if you get off, for example, at Angel Tube Station, you can walk a little bit and you'll find yourself on a canal, and you could walk for miles along that canal and just feel like you're in a different part of London, and it's very serene in parts. And Tracy says, what's Camden Market like nowadays? Tracy, so I used to go to Camden Market when I was younger, and I've seen it change a lot. It used to be cool, and it is still cool, but now it is so catered towards tourists. Whereas when I was younger, I think I got the tail end of it actually being like part of a subculture, if that makes sense. And it makes me sound so like I was there when it was cool. And little note on that, I was not cool when I was there. But the market was cool. It was, it was so exciting as a teenager going to Camden. We'd go up on the train, and we would go to like the food stalls, and we would go and look in all like the record shops, and we would get badges. Like they used to have a big market in Camden, two markets. Now one had a fire and it shut down, and they've turned it into like this trendy market area. And I don't really like it. It's not Camden vibes. But you used to have, people like punks and goths standing behind the stores selling you like ear-stretching jewellery, selling art, selling records. And I used to get really intimidated and excited by like the gothic shops that sold like really bright, heavy makeup and all the clothes. And a shop that I used to love, which is still there, and it is totally a tourist trap, is Cyberdog, which is a store that's like kind of like a happy hardcore store. You go in and they're like pumping music, and they used to play a lot of like psytrance and happy hardcore back in the day, but now I think they play like more enticing songs to get people in. But you go in and it's like they sell lots of rave stuff, but like old school rave stuff, as if you were going to like a happy hardcore rave, like all the bright neon stuff, like the really tacky stuff. But yeah, that's what Camden's like now. Hey Weird Side, how are you? I do not have the whole train map, I'm afraid. It's just a photo album that has the map on it. Okay. Tracy, Camden always used to be so crowded. Yeah, it used to be so crowded. It still is. You get off the tube in Camden and you are instantly walking in a crowd. So if you're like me and you hate people walking slowly in front of you, it's a nightmare. But there are some really good shops there still. It is worth going. It's got a really nice vibe, and there are some good piercing shops in Camden. And yeah, but I would say it's mainly a tourist trap now. Weird Side, that sounds like a story. Okay, let's go to another con. Okay, this con is gonna get a bit dark now, so make sure you're very relaxed. So, a con for me of living in London is getting approached on the street by men, and this happens all the time. No lie, honestly, and I'm sure it is lots of women's experience in London. But before the pandemic, for me, it was verging on like I would have an incident happen like every week, and it would range from just someone catcalling from a van. It would be a man walking along the pavement and being like, oh, like saying something like sexual. And the older I get, the angrier I get about it. And I do react back sometimes when I feel safe and I feel like I can do so and challenge it. I do, but I'm not advocating for anyone to do that. But yeah, and I don't know what the male experience is like walking along the street in London, and if they get approached by anyone and how often they get approached and why they get approached. But I would say a con is that happens, and it still happens, and it is a problem, and it's been a problem for God knows how long. And it's intimidating and just plain wrong. So yeah. Well, no, I just think like if you're that person and you're walking along the street and you see a woman coming, what is going through your mind in regards to shouting vile stuff at her? And also, if you're in a group of men, like, do you not realise that, oh, okay, there's not something in your brain that's like, I'm going to intimidate this woman. This woman doesn't know what my intentions are, but I'm going to shout at her anyway on the street, say, simply say, we had a meeting and we all agree no woman wants to walk down the street and have that happen. We just want to get on with our business, whether we're going to like Tesco or Morrison's or wherever you shop. I don't want that. I don't. It's not a compliment, it's intimidation, and it should not be happening. And I worry about the psychology of the people who do that. Like, you know, does that make sense? Akalia ASMR says, if the other feel unsafe, take out your phone and record them. They'll leave you alone most times. I've had to do that when you lived in New York. Oh really? Did you get a lot of hassle as well? I feel like that could escalate the situation where they like might snatch your phone and like throw it. But yeah, but I only say this because I've told you before, when I was 14, there was an incident where 3 lads were catcalling me across the street, and I was so shy and I was a child, and basically it resulted in one of them breaking my shoulder. So I know these things can escalate, and that's why it's just unacceptable for anyone to do that on the street. So yeah, act like you're on the phone. We shouldn't have to do that, Agalia, though, should we? We shouldn't have to do that. We should be able to walk freely without feeling like that's going to happen. But anyway, and I think I told you about that time when I confronted those 3 men in a van not too long ago, and I said I was going to report him, and he looked absolutely terrified. He was like, oh, it was just a compliment, and I was like, does it look like a compliment? There's 3 of you and 1 of me. Like, it's intimidating. So I genuinely think that man wasn't thinking. And so I do get that. I think sometimes, you know, if you're of a certain age and you've been doing it for a while, you think it is flattering. But I'm afraid to say it is not flattering. Yeah, Tracy, you get angry about it too. Yeah, we all do, don't we? So, yeah, that's a con. But let's go back to a pro, shall we? And I'm going to go back to nature. So London has the most amazing parks. I feel like London is a very green city. But I'd like to understand how green the city is you live in, so let me know. We have beautiful parks, and in the summer they are utilised to the fullest. Lots of events happening, including festivals that are held. Victoria Park hosts festivals, Hyde Park, Crystal Palace Park, Brockwell Park. We've got Peckham, there's a festival in Peckham. I'm missing one, Clapham Common as well. And yeah, we've got lots of green spaces to explore, which is wonderful. And they're all so lovely and different, these parks. Hey Ryan, oh no. My rant is over, and that's all I'm going to say on that. And another pro, free museums. So the Science Museum, the Natural History Museum, the V&A Museum. There's another one. Well, anyway, they're all in the same area, those ones. They're all free, which is amazing. The Imperial War Museum is free. The Horniman Museum is free. And they're the only museums I can think of at the moment. But they're all free, and that's amazing. So if you're having a bit of a bored day and you feel like wandering around a museum, going to see all the lovely artefacts, or the British Museum, that's free, then you can do so at your own leisure, which is amazing. So I've got here on the cons list, a competitive job market, but lots of opportunity. So it's a bit of a contradiction, but find it's quite tough to get a job in London, but there are lots of vacancies, but it is still very competitive. So it can be a bit disheartening. You have to have a thick skin when you're looking for a job in London, depending on what you do, obviously. If you do something niche, I don't know, you know, if you're a doctor or you're a nurse or something, you're probably going to get snapped up because we're always looking for those, aren't we? But like, you know, other jobs, it can be very disheartening in London because, you know, hundreds and hundreds of people will apply for one role. So you've just got to keep going in that job market. But on the flip side, there are lots of sectors, lots of industries that employ in London. So yeah. And I've got here on the cons list that, you know, people with less income are being priced out of living in certain areas. And that is happening, you know, because of gentrification. So all the cheap areas now are becoming gentrified. People are buying houses there and all of that. The high streets are becoming, you know, getting like their niche little coffee shops and stuff, and all the people that are on lower incomes are just slowly being pushed out, further out of London, which is not good, because you've got people who have lived in London for their whole life and they can't live in the area that they grew up in, and that's sad. That is sad. Okay, so, on the pros list, I've got the River Thames. And this is a pro because honestly, to walk along the river, no matter what side you're on, is spectacular. And it is, honestly, it is such a lovely river to walk along or to get a boat down. And it's just nice being by the water. And it is, yeah, it's just a lovely, lovely, lovely pro. And that's why London exists as well, because you know, at the start when people settled, you need that water source. So let's say thank you to the River Thames for being that. And yeah, anyway, so that's mostly what is on my list. Ryan says, someday I'd like to see London. How are Americans treated there these days? Should I say I'm from Canada? Okay, I'm not gonna lie. There is a running theme in regards to Londoners getting annoyed by Americans. But I think that's a bit of a stereotype, and I think it's just a clash in attitudes, because like Londoners are a bit more like cynical and negative and sarcastic, and like Americans stereotypically, obviously not all Americans are like really upbeat and like, yeah, we can do this, I am great, and like give themselves all the affirmations. They're like, I can do this, I'm the best, yeah, go me. And then England, we're like, oh no, I'm shit, this is shit, and are a bit more like a bit more less enthusiastic. And I think that is where the clash comes from, isn't it? It's the charm of the American and English relationship, I think. It's just great to, you know, spot those differences and then embrace them. Yeah. So, yeah, basically that is my pros and cons list of London. Let me know if you can think of any more. I know I haven't put all of them on there. The cons are basically everything is expensive. And the pros, there are definitely more pros. Corptastic says is overweight is the American stereotype, and London is tea parties, fish and chips. Tea party? Oh wow, I don't think I've ever been to a tea party. Yeah, fish and chips. To be honest, that is pretty much England. There are so many like fish and chip shops everywhere. So that stereotype is true. I've been here for almost an hour now, and I hope that you are looking after yourself. I really, really do. I hope that you are doing all you can in your power to help you feel less stressed. Whether that's doing a nice little meditation before bed, or whether it's doing some yoga, or going out and going to like a boxing class, whether it's painting a picture. But what I'm trying to say is I hope you are taking time out for you, and I hope this video is part of that little slice of you time that you get to unwind from, let's be honest, we all have very stressful days. And I hope that you are getting tingles from ASMR still. You know, it sometimes happens where you get tingles really deep, and I really hope that these videos do introduce tingles in you. I don't know about you, but I am very tired now, and I'm very excited to go to bed. Good night. I'm going to see you very soon. Thank you for tuning in, and be well.